Our project is based on a belief that humans are part of biodiversity and not a superior species. We aspire to understand how to create symbiotic relationships between human beings and their environment. Our site is the oil tank farm in Haifa that was established by the Iraqi oil company IPC in 1936 with the aim of being a terminal for the export of crude oil from Iraq. At the time of its establishment, 34 tanks with a volume of 14,700 cubic meters each were built. Today there are 18 active oil tanks out of 42 tanks, total of 595,000 cubic meters of crude oil stored daily. The bare ground in this area are sand dunes from the Holocene period Kirker Group. The tank farm is not drained, surface runoff flows and permeates the sand reservoir beneath the tanks. We decided that the most efficient method of cleaning the area is using bioremediation, a process in which natural microorganisms recycle specific contaminants. After a series of chemical reactions, organic waste such as petrol undergoes metabolism and turns into water, carbon, gas, and other non-toxic byproducts. These chemical reactions give bacteria the energy they need to develop and reproduce. Thanks to this process, the organic waste is eaten and disappears from the environment without toxic or dangerous residues for humans or nature. Based on those processes, we decided on the following rehabilitation method. The first step is reducing human access. The second is cleaning the area by using biological treatment by planting and using bacteria. The third is increasing access for animals as part of fertilizing the soil and building a stronger ecosystem. At this point, we expect full rehabilitation of the soil. So, the next part is to allow access to humans to develop symbiotic relationships between humans, animals, and nature.
The goal is to minimize damage to the soil as much as possible. The containers will be converted into programs that will be used by all the residents of the superblock, man, animals, and nature. To choose which containers will be converted to which programs, we first mapped the site surrounding and divided it into different uses. The industrial area, the green areas, the residential neighborhoods, and the sea. We assign the containers to 3 types of programs, each one is affected by the distance from the areas of use that we mapped before. The buildings that are intended to preserve nature will be drawn to the green areas, to the sea and away from the industrial area. The workplaces buildings will be drawn to the residential neighborhoods, to the industrial areas and away from the sea. The public buildings will be drawn to the industrial area, the residential neighborhoods and the green areas. Each point in the block was given a score depending on the distance from each use, and was assigned to one of 3 types of programs. We can choose the percentage of each program. To develop the selection of the programs, we added a weight to each criterion. The weight can be changed so that the importance of the criteria exceeds that of the others. The superblock is designed for 10,000 residents. The average number of people in an Israeli family today is 3.7 people. Given that half of the adults will be working in a block, we will need to provide at least 2,650 jobs. Each program will provide a different number of jobs and accordingly their number in the block will be determined. Among the programs we will place residential buildings. We measured the distance of each point each time to a certain type of program. The residences will prefer to be located between 3 different programs. In order to create connectivity between the residential buildings, we decided to create a continuous structure, which creates meeting places, passages, and provides protection from the sun. The domes create different forms of encounter with nature in the block. Sometimes as a civilized nature and sometimes not. In addition, they allow different types of wandering in the spaces of the block, so that outside the structure the movement is less certain.
The desire to design a structure that would harm the environment as little as possible made us try to learn from nature. The inspiration was the Parodia magnifica cactus. Focusing on the idea of biomimicry, the accordion shape will optimize the light conditions in the outer apartment and generate the possibility of cross-ventilation in the apartments located in the bulges, while creating more space for residents. Separating the circle into several layers combined with different radius and rotation movement along the circle creates more options for the most optimal shape. Maximize sun exposure and minimize shadow on the ground were set as criteria to determine the external shape of the structure to maximize the spread of vegetation on our site. In order to accommodate 10,000 inhabitants in 7 buildings, the last criteria were the volume of each building. The most optimal structures came at different heights, which led us to 2 variations of towers. Both of them are following the same fundamental concept. A central infrastructure core is surrounded by a vertical agriculture farm and covered by a shell which is intended for the residents. The tall building is characterized by a vertical shape and a larger surface area. We can accommodate 1,700 people. The shorter and wider building is more optimized to provide food supply for the super block. Through vertical agriculture, each tower can produce enough calories to cover the needs of the whole population for more than a month. The access to the residential buildings will be from the domes, where the only connection of the building with the ground is the circulation core. This is in order to create a minimal encounter with the ground. With 7 buildings, we can settle all 10,000 residents. In time, when the block will have to expand, the method we developed will be able to provide us the optimal location of the buildings, as well as the shape and size.
We've come to a point where we must change our behavior. The survival of planet Earth depends on it. We need to recognize that we are part of a bigger system and start living together with our environment instead of using it. Our project shows the way of rearranging the common hierarchy and creating an equal network of every living being.